Derek clenched his jaw until he could feel the pressure grinding against his teeth. "No," Derek whispered softly. He was stunned. A creeping sense of despair flowed slowly from his heart out to the rest of his body. Realizing that Millie would no longer have any relation to him or place in his life, he said louder, "No. No." He wished he could turn back time. He wished he could find a way. Millie looked up at Derek with exhaustion and pity in her eyes. "Derek, just let me go. You already chased me out of the family. You wanted that. You won. Isn't that enough?" "No." Derek shook his head. This wasn't what he was trying to do. He did not want this to happen, he insisted to himself. It definitely wasn't supposed to be like this. Derek's hand still tightly held the top of her hospital gown. She reached up and placed her hands on the back of Derek's fists. She plucked them from her gown and pushed his hands away from her clothes. She knew that he was not happy with what was happening, but she was. Her life was already so much better this way. Millie set her jaw. "Derek, I told you before. You can either beat me to death or else never touch me again." Derek was taken aback at the look in Millie's eyes. She seemed to be another person. He did not know her at all at that moment. She seemed to see right through him. He was trying to appear weak and humble when he came into her room, but she knew better than to believe it for even a second. When he raged and threatened, she did not believe him either. He was somehow completely out of control whenever he was in her presence. But now, perhaps the tables had turned. Millie's strong gaze at that moment made Derek afraid. She wasn't like this before, he thought silently. She was never like this. It's not supposed to be like this. "Don't look at me," he ordered. "You make me want to cover your eyes. You shouldn't look at me like this." She tilted her head but didn't look away. "Look at you like what?" "Like that!" he shouted. "Look away, stop doing this." Millie sighed. "Derek, you can leave right now. You can't force me to do anything, but you can change what you do." Derek's voice started to tremble. "Come home with me. We will pretend nothing happened. As long as you come home with me, everything will be fine." The corner of Millie's mouth rose slightly in a smirk. She still did not understand why he thought she should go live with him and their family after everything between them. They hadn't had a single happy interaction in her entire adolescence. She thought that Derek truly must be out of his mind. Millie remembered that there was a button for calling a nurse. It was beside the bed, just a ways behind her. She just needed to press it. A nurse would come and all of this would be over. In the future, she would definitely avoid any interaction with Derek if she could. She would hide. She would move far away. Millie took a couple of slow steps backward, trying not to look like anything was happening in particular. Derek felt that her moving away from him was like a knife stabbing into his heart. This should not have gone like this. Millie frowned and stopped moving. "Derek, are you crying?" Derek was confused. He didn't cry. That couldn't possibly be true. He raised his hand to wipe his face. His fingers did feel wet. He looked at his hand and saw the beads of water that had fallen from his eyes. He was crying. Derek still wasn't sure what was happening to him. He only knew that hearing Millie reject him and their family made him feel extreme pain. He looked back at Millie. He had spent so many years thinking he hated her. He used that hatred to numb himself and escape his other feelings, his scarier feelings. How did he feel about her, really? His gaze fell on Millie's stomach. When he thought about the child of another man inside her, he felt like he was about to collapse. After hearing Millie suggest it, Derek was sure Millie had come to the hospital because she was pregnant with that mute's baby. Derek fell to his knees. He lunged forward, grabbing Millie's ankles, prostrating himself at her feet. He began to beg her again. "Millie, come home with me, please. I can't let you continue to do things that are so wrong." Even if you hate me now, even if you blame me now, it doesn't matter. I need to try to make sure you stop ruining your life. Come home with me now." Millie struggled to kick him off of her ankles. "I'm not going anywhere. I don't need to do anything you say. You have no idea how I should live my life, none. I'm going to wait for Cameron here. Let me go." Upon hearing Cameron's name, Derek's desperation turned back to rage. He felt like Millie's words made him see red. "You still want to wait for him?" he roared. He knelt on one knee, reaching up and placing his hands on her waist. "Millie, why are you doing this? Why are you like this?" Millie shouted down at him. "Derek, you are a psychopath." "I'm a psychopath?" he shouted back up at her. "How could you think I'm as crazy as you?" He reached out and held her jaw. "That mute got you pregnant and now he leaves you at the hospital alone? How do you still have to wait for him? You're allowing him to treat you like this and you say that I'm crazy?" Derek ranted. Millie was stunned. She heard the word pregnant and couldn't believe that anyone, especially her own brother, could believe that she would be pregnant at 18. She had forgotten Millie's suggestion that she may be pregnant and was stunned to hear Derek jump to such a conclusion. Millie shook her head in disbelief. "What did you say? It's not like that at all." Derek looked up at Millie, disappointed. "You're still defending him." He held her jaw in his hand tighter and tighter, beginning to hurt her. "You are so stubborn, Millie. Do you really love him that much? Why, because he deflowered you?" "Shut up, Derek!" Millie shoved Derek's hand away from her jaw, successfully breaking his grip. "You don't know what you're talking about at all." Derek looked hopeful. "So you didn't sleep with him?" "That's none of your business," she said coldly. She had not slept with Cameron, but if she had, it would not change the fact that Derek did not deserve to know. Derek's nostrils flared. "He kissed you before, right?" He remembered watching them. The scene flashed before his eyes as though it were a movie scene on repeat in his mind, his brain filled with a roiling anger. Derek stood and embraced his arms around Millie before she could react, forcing her into an embrace. "Derek, get off!" Millie tried to shove him away from her. Facing Millie's resistance, Derek frowned in disappointment. He squeezed Millie tighter and she twisted her body harder to try to escape. She attempted to knee him in between his legs, but he successfully pulled her in tighter before she could strike. Finally, she gave up on fighting him. She let her body go limp, completely surrendering to the horrors that awaited her. Tears flowed out of her eyes as her body began to shake and she fiercely stared up at her captor. Seeing the tears flow down her cheeks, Derek suddenly came back to his senses. He could feel her body trembling under him, angry and afraid. His eyes softened. Millie saw that he was distracted and reared her knee back again, hitting him squarely in between his legs. He cried out in pain and doubled over, throwing her off balance. She fell backward, hitting her face on the hard plastic foot of the hospital bed. Millie yelped in pain, grabbing the side of her face. "Damn it, Derek, what did you do?" she shouted, facing her crying eyes full of hatred, and her face now red and bruised. Derek took a step back, bent his knees, and knelt on the ground. That gaze. He thought that Millie would not forgive him for the rest of her life. Millie realized what she needed to do. She lunged for the call button on her bed, hitting it hard. Almost simultaneously, the door to Millie's room opened with a bang as it hit the wall. Both Millie and Derek startled at the sound, turning their gaze to the door. Standing there in the doorway, taking in the chaotic scene before her, was Olivia. Olivia was stunned, her eyes racing back and forth between Millie, whose face was swollen and red, and Derek kneeling on the floor in front of her. "What happened?" Olivia cried. "Olivia!" Millie rushed in the direction of the door, tripping on the way as she stumbled toward Olivia. Olivia threw her arms forward and caught Millie before she fell. She whispered to Millie, "Don't be afraid. I'm so sorry. I'm here now." Her arms protectively around Millie, she looked at the pale, shocked Derek Brown, who still knelt on the ground. Olivia wanted so badly to finally just kill him once and for all. She thought about how easy it would be. I could use my powers to push him off the roof of the hospital. No one would suspect that he hadn't done it himself. Her mind raced with the different ways she could get her revenge on this brute. Or I could have him stuck with an empty needle, causing an air bubble to enter into his bloodstream. Millie's body trembled in relief, tightly wrapped in Olivia's arms, which instantly snapped Olivia back to the present moment. Derek scrambled to his feet and Olivia glared at him furious. He moved toward the door and Olivia took a step to the side, blocking his path. He froze. Millie realized what was happening. She shook her head. "Olivia, let him go. He doesn't deserve it," Olivia rasped. Millie took in the look on Olivia's face and drew back, worried. I know, but more than what he deserves, I can't do that to my dad." Millie shot Derek a quick glance. "He's a bastard, but he is still my father's son. I don't think my dad could handle losing him." Olivia's murderous urges for this unrepentant abuser met Millie's pleading eyes. She was torn. Millie did not know that Olivia could kill with the thought. And if anyone were to deserve Olivia's wrath, it was Derek Brown. Olivia wished she had just gotten rid of him the last time she wanted to finish him off. If she had, nothing tonight would have happened. But she also imagined if she had arrived at Millie's hospital room just a few minutes later than she had. If something more had happened to Millie, Olivia would blame herself for the rest of her life. Finally, Olivia stepped out of Derek's way. He hurried out of the hospital room, fleeing down the hall. Millie hugged Olivia again. Thank you, I'm so glad he's gone." I'm here, Olivia whispered. She looked at Millie's face, where a large bruise was starting to form with a small cut in the middle of it. "That looks so bad, are you okay?" Millie nodded. "I'll be fine." Millie didn't bother to explain that she had hit her face on the hard plastic foot of the hospital bed. Olivia would know it had been Derek's fault either way. Olivia dialed Violet Cartwright. When she picked up, Olivia said simply, "Leave Derek Brown alive, but teach him a lesson. Make sure he'll remember it." "Copy," Violet answered. She hung up the phone. Olivia looked back to Millie, her eyes softening. "Millie, your face is swelling up and you're bleeding. Are you sure you're all right?" Millie touched her face, forgetting she'd had a nosebleed. She winced as she grazed the side of her face and felt the bruise from her fall. "Yeah, I'm sure. I've had worse." Olivia sighed and extended her hand to gently stroke Millie's face. "Make sure the doctor takes a look at this." Millie nodded. I hit the button to call the nurse. Suddenly, Millie remembered something and grabbed Olivia's arm. "Olivia, where is Cameron? Where is he?" Olivia saw Millie's expression and knew that Camilla's acting hadn't fooled her. Cameron, she decided to tell Millie part of the truth. He was injured, but not too badly. He was shot. The shrapnel in his shoulder was all taken out. Millie felt like the wind had been knocked out of her. He was shot? Shrapnel? All of them? None of that sounded to her like it wasn't too bad. She started breathing quickly. Where is he? Olivia held Millie's gaze, hoping that her own steadiness would keep her calm. He just had surgery. Chris was able to arrange for emergency treatment tonight with a doctor who would keep things quiet. The doctor said he is releasing Cameron tonight, which is a good sign. I think he'll be okay. It will just take some time for him to recover. Millie nodded, taking deep breaths. She decided that overall, this troubling news about Cameron could have been worse. Okay, so he's fine, right? He's fine, Olivia reassured her. The doctor said we brought him in just in time. The inflammation in the wound did not spread and none of his nerves were injured. His arm was saved. It sounds like he got pretty lucky. Millie let out a sigh of relief. That's good. Don't worry, Olivia said, her heart aching for her friend. It's you I'm worried about. Me? Millie blinked, trying to think. What happened to me? Millie! Olivia cried in disbelief. Are you really okay? I will listen to when you want to spare Derek Brown, but look at what he did to you. Oh, right. Millie looked away, embarrassed. Derek had been such a terrible part of her life for so long that she was used to putting him out of her mind. The news about Cameron had almost consumed her at that moment. Olivia took a deep breath. Millie, I know you wanted me to let Derek go, but if Cameron finds out, I don't think he would be able to do the same. Millie nodded. I know. She pursed her lips and felt a burning pain at the corner of her mouth. Millie asked, How bad does it look? Olivia winced. Do you want to see? Millie sighed. She nodded and felt a burst of pain in her neck and the back of her head. Olivia led Millie toward the bathroom in her room. Take it slow. Be careful. Millie realized she had a lot more aches and pains throughout her body from everything that had just happened with Derek. Olivia turned the light on in the bathroom and Millie shut her eyes. It felt blinding at first. She slowly blinked her eyes open and saw herself in the mirror. The left side of her face was swollen, and the blood from her nose dried in a line down to her chin. The corner of her eye and cheek were bruised with a small cut, and the white of her eye had turned red. Olivia leaned against the doorframe. Are you okay, Millie? Millie took a beat. She kept looking at her poor face. I think you're right, she exhaled. Cameron would go after Derek if he saw this, for sure. Cameron didn't want me to know how badly he was hurt, and I don't want him to know how badly I'm hurt either. Olivia nodded. What she wanted more than anything at that moment was for anyone, to exact revenge on Derek. But she decided to respect Millie's wishes. Just then, there was a knock at the door of Millie's room. Millie suddenly turned to Olivia. I don't want the nurse to see me. I want Chris's doctor who saw Cameron. He can treat me off the record. The nurse knocked again. Please, Millie asked. Olivia nodded. What was a little more secret medical treatment between friends? Olivia opened the door to the nurse while Millie stayed in the bathroom, explaining that Millie had rolled into the call button in her sleep, and Olivia couldn't figure out how to cancel it. The nurse seemed slightly suspicious, but peered past Olivia to where Millie was lying in her bed facing away. She nodded and left them alone. Olivia turned to Millie. I think we should get you some sleep, and later I can help you arrange things with the other doctor. Millie nodded and yawned, feeling an exhaustion deep in her bones. She hadn't realized until that moment how tired she was. Olivia pulled Millie's blanket up over her. Do you want to stay in the hospital for the next couple of days until your face looks a bit better? No. Millie shook her head, sinking into her pillow. I want to go back to Lena's. I think there's a good chance Derek will come back to find me here, and I don't want to ever see him again. I'll be fine at Lena's. These are all superficial wounds. Olivia sighed. I will listen to you. Can I get you anything else? Millie shook her head and smiled gratefully. No, thank you. I love you, Olivia. I love you too, Olivia replied. I'll stay here with you as you fall asleep. Olivia's phone buzzed with a call, and she turned and left the room, hoping as she closed the door behind her that Millie would actually be able to get some sleep that night. The call was from Violet Cartwright. Olivia answered. Is it done? Yes, Violet answered. According to your instructions, I broke his right hand, then let him go. He won't be able to use it properly ever again. Olivia nodded, and a trace of vicious pleasure flashed across her eyes. Good work. This time, she did as Millie asked her to. But if Derek ever dared to hurt Millie again, Olivia would eradicate this problem at the root, without mercy. After calling Chris's private doctor and making sure that Millie was fully taken care of, Olivia quietly crept out of the hospital room just before dawn, while Millie slept peacefully in her bed. Walking through the quiet hospital corridor, remembering that a violent, malicious person like Derek was able to roam these halls, she felt a little frightened. She took the elevator down to the first floor, reminding herself that with her powers, Men like Derek should be afraid of her, not the other way around. She took a deep breath. Olivia had sent Violet away to take Morgana home and didn't know if she'd be able to reach her at this odd time. She pulled out her phone, but the battery had died. Olivia sighed. Forget it, she thought to herself. Maybe I can hail a cab outside. Taking large strides, trying to walk in a confident manner that she hoped was intimidating, Olivia left the lobby doors. As soon as she stepped outside, Olivia saw a figure standing under a streetlight across the hospital parking lot. She stopped in her tracks, startled, and narrowed her eyes as she tried to better see whether this person was a friend or foe. In a moment, the corner of her mouth turned up as she realized this figure wasn't anyone to be afraid of. She let a smile spread across her face as she walked confidently up to Chris Jones. As she got closer to him, she saw him smile back at her. "You're still here?" Olivia asked, looking up at him. "Why did you stay so late? What are you, ghost hunting?" He laughed. "No ghost hunting tonight. I'm just waiting for a particular spirit to appear." Waiting for a spirit? Olivia looked left and right. Well, let me know if they show up. Hopefully they're granting wishes or something. Chris smiled and pulled Olivia into his embrace. He held her close to him. "I think she is," he whispered softly. Olivia nuzzled her face into his chest. He felt so warm. "Really? And what kind of wish would you ask her for?" she asked. "Well, seeing as she is a very powerful spirit specializing in the art of seduction, I've already promised her my heart and soul. There's only one thing left I wish from her, whenever she's ready," he whispered into her ear. Olivia felt her face grow hot and she took a step back to steady herself. Chris smirked down at Olivia, enjoying the effect his words had on her. "The more I look at you, the more I can't believe you're real. How can you be so incredible and so very attractive?" Olivia felt like her brain went fuzzy. She was momentarily speechless. She squeezed him tight. "I don't know where you learned to talk such nonsense." She raised her head to look at him with a teasing smile. "Does this work on all the girls?" "There's only one I care about," he replied with a smile. "Is it working on her?" Olivia tried to form some sort of witty comeback, but her brain had turned to mush. Instead, she reached up on her tiptoes and pressed her lips gently against his. The blue pre-dawn light was filled with a slight chill, and the moon still hung big and bright in the sky as the two embraced, eventually walking off into the dawn. The next day, it was cloudy and rainy as Olivia was feeling particularly unmotivated to get out of bed. She slogged her way into the bathroom to grab her toothbrush, then made her way to the kitchen while she brushed lazily at her teeth. But just as she was about to pass by Victoria's room, Olivia saw something that left her shocked. Her toothbrush dropped from her hand, toothpaste still foaming at the corner of her mouth. Michael Johnson, his hair mussed and his face sleepy, was exiting her mother's bedroom. Olivia quickly wiped her mouth. "Dad, did you sleep over last night?" Michael nodded sheepishly, trying to avoid looking at Olivia. Yes, I did." He and Victoria had begun arguing again after their clandestine kiss, so Michael was perhaps even more surprised than Olivia when he woke up next to her this morning. It seems that they had worn each other out trying to outwit the other, and they had both fallen asleep in their clothes on top of the comforter. His mind wandered to the realization that it had been many years since the two of them had shared a bed. He had slept so peacefully next to Victoria. It didn't make any sense. He felt nervous this morning, but he got the best night's sleep he had in years. "Dad?" Olivia felt incredibly worried, but didn't know how much she could say. "Things are really complicated with you and Mom. Is she okay? Was this a good idea?" "I know, and I hear you." He nodded and turned to face the concern in Olivia's eyes. "But we just slept," he blurted. "Oh, God, Dad, ew, I didn't mean... Well, I guess maybe I did." Olivia stammered, hating everything about the conversation she found herself in. "We don't have to talk about it," Michael suggested, anxious. But you can't hurt her dad." Olivia rebutted. Michael shook his head. "I would never. Your father is a gentleman, a perfect gentleman. I swear to you, we just fell asleep together. I mean, not together, next to each other." Olivia made a face. "Oh, this is none of my business. It just makes me scared. She's been so careful for so long. I don't want you to ruin things for her." Michael gestured to his shirt. "Hey, look at these clothes. Did they look all wrinkly? I did not take them off for 1 second last night." "You, Dad!" Olivia covered her eyes. "It's less about that and more about the emotional stuff. Ew!" Just then, they heard a voice. "What are you two yelling about so early in the morning?" Victoria asked from her open doorway. "Nothing," Michael replied immediately, but his eyes were wide. Victoria felt embarrassed, avoiding Olivia's eyes. Olivia felt embarrassed too. I'm gonna go," Olivia muttered, hurrying back towards her own room. Victoria had felt angry and amused that Michael had fallen asleep so quickly the night before. She didn't have enough space to herself, and he snored like a chainsaw, keeping her up most of the night. Part of her missed that. His snoring was annoying, but it was such a visceral reminder of the early, happier days of their relationship. She couldn't spread out in bed as much as she liked, but had to admit she had missed sharing her bed with somebody. And she wondered if she would have been annoyed by any of this if he had made a move on her. But at the same time, she found herself wondering why he hadn't. That, above all, was the most confusing aspect to her. What was his motivation? Surely he didn't just need to fall asleep that badly. There must have been a reason he wanted to fall asleep in her bed specifically, right? She was irritated that it wasn't clear. But even just looking at his face as he slept, she hadn't seen that in so many years. He still made the same expression as before. The same small face twitches, the same frown. She had even heard him mutter to himself in his sleep, "Victoria, don't go," which made her heart ache. She was shocked. When she heard him say that, she had been rigidly avoiding touching him. But after that, she gave in to her baser instincts and cuddled up to him, falling asleep almost instantly. When Victoria had woken up in the early morning before Michael, she grappled with her complicated feelings alone. But as soon as she saw him begin to stir, she pretended to sleep again. He kissed her forehead, tucked her under the blanket, and crept out of the room quietly. She couldn't continue pretending after he left. She covered her face with both hands, overwhelmed by the violently conflicting emotions crashing around inside her head, and could not fall back to sleep. As she found herself standing across from Michael now, after the emotionally tumultuous night they had spent together in the same bed, she did not know where to look. She found it extremely awkward. Michael scratched his head and batted his thighs. "I'm just about to head out." "Sure," Victoria replied, not moving. Michael scratched at an invisible spot on his shirt sleeve. "About last night." Victoria felt her cheeks blaze hot. She didn't know what she wanted Michael to say. She was relieved that he was bringing it up and breaking their silence, but she also wanted to run back to her bed and hide under the covers. Michael hesitated, not knowing where to start. It was... Victoria felt like she could hear her heart pounding in her ears. What would he say? She did know that his staying overnight might imply certain things. Once he stayed overnight, the next step of development would be pretty obvious. However, Victoria was conflicted. She still didn't know if she was ready. The two of them had been together once upon a time, but they had been separated for so long. What if Michael was about to ask her to get back together again? What would she say? Of course, she had thought about it. But was she really ready? She felt herself inhale sharply as she waited to hear what Michael had to say. Michael hesitated, mouth open as he tried to gather his thoughts. Victoria's heart raced out of her chest as she waited to hear what Michael had to say to her. He began, cutting himself off. "I wanted to ask if I snored too loudly. If I did, I'm sorry." Victoria let out a laugh, relieved to not have to deal with a real conversation about their relationship today. You did snore, but it was okay. I was able to sleep through it. Okay, great. Michael smiled awkwardly. There was so much more he wanted to say to her, but he knew now was not the time. Well, I'm gonna go shower at my place then. I'll come back up in a bit. Sure. Victoria smiled and nodded, trying to seem as casual as possible as she watched Michael exit the apartment. As soon as he left, Victoria let out a deep breath, then slowly limped her way to the kitchen. From her room, Olivia heard the sound of the front door and knew Michael had left. She came out to the kitchen and found Victoria smiling. Hey, Mom, you okay? She asked cautiously. Yes, Victoria replied, a little embarrassed when she saw Olivia. Yes, of course I am. What would you like to eat for breakfast? Eggs, oatmeal with blueberries. All of the usual sounds good to me. But what would you like to eat? I'm the chef today, Olivia declared. I like the sound of eggs and oatmeal too. Victoria smiled. Great minds think alike. She smiled. Olivia laughed affectionately and began to get to work, pulling out pots and pans. Victoria used the wall to steady herself while she made her way to the dining room table. Victoria, good morning, Morgana said enthusiastically through a yawn as she walked into the dining room and stretched. Good morning, Victoria smiled back. Victoria, you should keep that foot elevated. Morgana pointed and walked to the dining table. She moved a chair and carefully propped Victoria's leg up onto the chair. There, that's better. Thank you. Victoria nodded appreciatively. You're all taking such good care of me. Of course, you're like the mom I never had. Morgana smiled sleepily. Victoria smiled back, touched by the sentiment. What time do you and Olivia get back last night? Victoria asked. I fell asleep early and didn't hear you come in. Last night, I think it was about 11, close to midnight. Olivia got back later, I think, Morgana said as she rested her hands on her cheeks. It was a busy night, and I'm still tired. Oh, Victoria nodded. I hope you both can catch up on rest today. Maybe take a nap later? I wish. Morgana shook her head sadly. But today Millie gets out of the hospital, so we're gonna go and pick her up later. Ah, Victoria sighed, understanding. Be careful on the way. Victoria smiled. With Morgana living here, it felt as if she had another daughter around. It made her happy. She had never wanted for more children than Olivia. Olivia was her whole world. But Victoria had so much love to give, it was nice to spread it out, especially for a sweet kid who didn't have her own family. Just then, Michael returned wearing a fresh iron suit, as if he had not stayed over the previous night. Good morning, Morgana greeted him. Good morning, Michael said back and joined them at the table. He nodded pleasantly at Victoria and poured himself a glass of water. When did you go back home? Morgana asked bluntly. When I got in last night, I saw your shoes at the door. Did you guys sleep together last night? Water sprayed out of Michael's mouth from the shock of her question. His face turned bright red. Victoria blushed as well. Morgana, what are you talking about? Occam's razor. It's just picking the simplest explanation when presented with multiple options. Morgana shrugged matter-of-factly without any trace of awkwardness. I saw that your shoes were here at midnight, thus I concluded you were also here. Morgana stretched her arms up over her head as she spoke. I've been thinking the whole situation is kind of odd. You both are obviously together, so I wondered, why is Victoria living in an apartment with Olivia and Michael living in a separate apartment downstairs? You already had a kid together, you might as well just… Morgana, Michael tried to explain. It was a complicated situation. His tie suddenly felt very uncomfortable around his neck. I just don't get it. Morgana tilted her head curiously. If you used to be married, and now you're back together, wouldn't it be normal to sleep together? We weren't married. Victoria struggled to get the words out in the face of Morgana's forward questions. She cleared her throat. The answer is no. So last night was just a one-night thing then? Morgana narrowed her eyes at Michael. We didn't do anything. Nothing happened last night. Michael choked. So you were just talking all night? Morgana smiled skeptically. Sure, okay. Michael felt somewhat offended. This was a lot of calling out and personal accusations for so early in the morning. Victoria's face was red with embarrassment. She sat there stunned, watching the conversation unfold. This girl is precocious. Breakfast is ready, Olivia announced. Her entrance thankfully disrupted the awkward moment. The oatmeal just came out of the pot, so it's a little hot. I'll help. Morgana hopped up from the table and went to the kitchen to grab the other dishes. Olivia went back to the kitchen after her, leaving Michael and Victoria alone in awkward silence. Victoria smiled feebly. She's just being silly. Michael nodded awkwardly. Then he added, Tell me. Victoria looked up at Michael nervously. What's up? Do you think what happened? I mean, not what didn't happen, but staying over was inappropriate? Victoria groaned. Why do we have to talk about this now? Michael looked confused by Victoria's reaction. He hoped she wasn't upset by his staying over. He cleared his throat. I was never going to try anything. You don't have to worry about that. Victoria closed her eyes from embarrassment. If she was being honest with herself, she had been a little offended that he did not make any moves. But it was a complicated feeling, and she did not want to discuss it right then. Michael. Just then, the girls returned with the rest of breakfast, and Michael and Victoria went right back to pretending everything was fine. After breakfast, Michael left for work, and Olivia and Morgana headed to the hospital to get Millie. Victoria sighed at the empty place. It's boring when there's suddenly nothing to do. She remembered when Polly, Olivia's husky dog that she shared with its previous owner, still lived with them. She suddenly missed the sweet dog at that moment. I wish Polly was here. At least I would have someone keeping me company. Across town, Olivia and Morgana arrived at the hospital and went straight up to Millie's suite. Millie was already awake when they walked in. She had a small bandage on her face, and ointment shined on the corner of her mouth. She was back in her own clothes, a cute, simple dress. Millie looked better than the previous day, but she still seemed down. Wow, Morgana said as she looked at Millie's glum expression. Millie, you look even more serious than before you were hospitalized. Just too much time to dwell. Millie shrugged and laughed bitterly. Miss, the discharge procedures are all complete, Violet said. She peered her head in at the door of Millie's hospital room. Thank you, Olivia smiled. She reached out and gently patted Millie. Congratulations, you're free to leave the hospital. Thanks, Millie smiled and squeezed Olivia's hand with her own. They all chatted and laughed as they took the elevator down to the lobby. When the elevator doors opened, Millie spotted Derek with his hand wrapped in bandages. Oh no, I'm not doing this again, Millie thought to herself. Derek looked up and met Millie's gaze for a moment, but she quickly looked away as if she had never seen him. She continued chatting and laughing with Morgana as she walked out of the elevator. They walked right past Derek and he closed his eyes to avoid seeing her. Olivia definitely noticed Derek standing there while Millie pretended not to see him. That's for the best, Olivia thought approvingly at Millie's quick decision. Olivia quickly used her abilities to listen in to Derek's thoughts as they passed him. I don't know why I think about her constantly, or why the thought of any other guy touching her or even speaking to her makes my blood boil. I want her attention only on me. Olivia furrowed her brow as soon as she heard these twisted thoughts coming from Derek. The more she listened in, the more she wished she could unhear them. These are things that no brother should ever think about his sister, regardless of whether she's adopted, Olivia thought with disgust. She continued to listen when she heard a slight change in his tone. I regret all of the things I've said and done. I've been out of my mind and totally out of control, and all I've done is get mad at the idea of anyone hurting her when I'm the one who has hurt her over and over. There's no excuse. I don't deserve her forgiveness or to ever see her again. I will stay away from her from now on. It's not how I wanted things to be, but it's what I have to do for her. The only thing she really needs protection from is me." Olivia raised her eyebrows at Derek's inner thoughts. She thought carefully about his remorseful words. "Well, Derek," Olivia thought, "it's good that you've come to this conclusion on your own. Because if you ever did try to confront Millie again, I would not be able to keep my promise to her. I would have to murder you." A few days after Millie left the hospital and was able to put the incident with Derek behind her, Olivia and Morgana agreed to meet up for a shopping trip with Lena and Millie, hoping to raise everyone's spirits after a tumultuous period of time. Olivia and Morgana arrived early in the morning at the meeting place. "Olivia! Morgana!" Lena stood on her tiptoes and waved in the distance. "Over here!" "Hi!" Morgana waved back. They all convened in front of a coffee shop on the street. "Millie, you look a lot better." Olivia smiled. The swelling on Millie's face had faded a lot, and there was just a trace of greenish bruise that would probably disappear in a few more days. The bandage on her face was gone, and her eyes appeared to be back to normal. There was no sign of any more ointment on her mouth, and a silk scarf was tied around her neck to distract from the subtle bruising still on her face. It was overall a noticeable improvement. "Thanks. It's hard for me to tell since I see it all the time." Millie nodded. "I haven't seen Cameron yet. I hope the swelling and bruising are completely gone by tomorrow so he won't notice." "You're definitely on the right track," Olivia said encouragingly. Olivia knew Millie was looking forward to seeing Cameron. She took Millie's arm in a friendly manner. "Well, we're all here. Let's go shopping." "Okay." Morgana and Lena raised their arms and cheered. They stopped by a few stores to pick up seasonal essentials, then stopped at an ice cream shop. They talked and laughed as they enjoyed the ice cream, and Olivia savored the opportunity to have carefree fun with her friends, and that didn't have anything to do with work, executing a plan against a rival, or any other thing that usually dominated her to-do list. Just when she was starting to feel like a regular teenager for a few moments, someone on the street recognized Olivia and pointed her out to his friends. The group pulled out their phones and began to snap pics of Olivia, gossiping amongst themselves as they did. Lena and Millie immediately saw this and quickly dragged Olivia into a sunglasses shop nearby. "You need to hide your identity a little, the way celebrities do," Lena said as they perused the wall of sunglasses. They agreed on a vintage pair with round lenses and placed them on Olivia's face. They all looked and nodded in agreement. They continued shopping with Olivia slightly more undercover than before, eventually finding themselves at a stationery shop filled with unique and cute supplies. "This notebook is cute," Lena said as she held it up. "It has a rabbit on it. Doesn't it look like nuggets?" "It does," Millie agreed. "That's very cute." "I love it," Lena said. "There's actually a whole set. I want them all." Lena sighed. "You can never have too many notebooks," Millie said. "The set would not go to waste." "I don't even know if I could actually write in it, though. It's too beautiful." Lena squealed and hugged the book. "Why would you get a notebook you didn't want to write in?" Millie wondered. "It's all right. Today is about getting whatever makes you happy for whatever reason you want." Olivia laughed. Okay, Millie shrugged. Olivia's eyes landed on a shelf that displayed a bunch of pretty journals. She smiled as she thought fondly of her diary, and realized she had not written anything in it for a long time. She had been so busy recently that she didn't have any time to write anything down. The park company was stable and doing really well. Jeff and Violet had been handling everything very well, which allowed Olivia to focus on school at the moment. Maybe I'll have time to get back into journaling, Olivia wondered. Her eyes roved over all of the shelves of journals. until her gaze landed on a light blue hardcover journal. The cover had a copy of a Renaissance painting, showing a girl sitting by a window, with one hand on the windowsill and the other slightly clenched in front of her chest. She appeared to gaze into the distance, not knowing what was waiting for her. The window nearby was filled with flowers, and the girl had a dreamy but lonely look on her face. Olivia imagined that no one knew the girl's secret. Her eyes lit up as she reached out to pick up the book. Right at the same moment that she touched the book, Olivia felt another hand bump into hers. She suddenly felt a strange sense in the pit of her stomach, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She was stunned when she looked up to see that someone else was reaching for the exact same notebook. It was a girl around Olivia's age, maybe slightly younger, who looked just as shocked as Olivia did. Once they both recovered from the surprise, Olivia shook off the odd sensation, and they smiled awkwardly at one another. "Here, if that's okay, you can take this," Olivia insisted. "I will ask them if there are any more." "Well, thank you." The girl smiled at Olivia appreciatively and picked up the journal. "It's so beautiful." "Mm-hmm," Olivia nodded. She flagged down a store employee. "Hi, do you have any more journals like this one?" "Unfortunately, we do not." The employee shook her head regretfully. "That's the only one we have left in stock," he said, and returned to his work. "Oh, no." The girl smiled awkwardly and looked at Olivia, not knowing what to do. "It's totally fine. You should take it." Olivia smiled, pushing it toward the girl. "I'll find a different one." Olivia casually waved her hand and moved past the girl, who continued looking at other books. She browsed the other journals, but was frustrated to find that the one she liked most was the one she insisted the other girl take. "Olivia," Millie said as she carried a few books in her arms, "have you found anything you're going to get?" "I don't know if I see anything I really like." Olivia shrugged good-naturedly and glanced at one of the books in Millie's arms. "And you found some stuff you want?" Olivia asked. "Yes." Millie nodded at the books. "Took me long enough." Lena and Morgana had full shopping carts by the end of the time in the store. "After we check out, where to next?" Lena asked. "I want to go to Gimbel's," Olivia said. "Gimbel's? Isn't that a luxury store? Everything is extremely pricey," Millie said. "It is," Olivia nodded with a smile. "I haven't been there in a very long time, but sometimes they have great sales. Let's go and see if we're lucky today." "Let's go! Let's go!" Morgana chanted excitedly, raising her fists. Lately, she had been following Olivia from location to location, staying up until all hours of the night with her, and she was exhausted from protecting her. She couldn't leave whenever she wanted. This was a rare opportunity for pure fun, and she wanted to make the most of it. The moment they walked into Gimbel's, Olivia felt an odd chill run down her spine, but she brushed it off quickly. They took the elevator to the 5th floor, and Olivia began browsing. When she came across a European brand leather handbag, she stopped in her tracks. Still wearing her new sunglasses, she flagged down a salesman. "How much is this?" she asked the salesman. "This is a limited edition commemorative handbag. If you get the matching set, it's 10% off." The salesman replied. "Great, I'll take it," Olivia said. She remembered from her past life that in less than 5 years, this bag would become worth 5 times as much as she paid for it today. "We have some other deals as well," the salesman said. Olivia glanced quickly but was uninterested. She knew which items would become more valuable in the future from her past experience, and which would not, and she was only interested in the former. "That's all for me, just the 2, thank you." Olivia paid with her credit card, and they moved on to other high-end departments. Olivia sifted through aisle after aisle, choosing only the items she remembered would increase in value, all the while keeping her sunglasses on just in case anyone recognized her. "How much is this one?" Olivia pointed to a green wallet. "This one is discounted, so only $12,000, the shop assistant said with a smile. "How much?" Millie gasped. "That's the sale price?" Millie choked. Who could possibly afford that wallet? The shop assistant secretly knew that the discount was an invention just to convince customers to buy it. They pretended products were discounted all the time. $12,000? Olivia frowned slightly. What about $10,000? The shop assistant was stunned. The prices are as marked, miss. You have an employee discount, don't you? Olivia said. If I purchase everything that I'm planning on today with all of your amazing help, you'll be earning a $2,000 commission at least. Why don't you just use your employee discount on this one item and we'll both win? Team effort. Olivia smiled and winked. Olivia remembered this exact wallet from her previous life, and that it had originally cost $12,000. But Pamela Cox was able to buy it for $10,000 because she cleverly won over the salesman. Pamela had rubbed it in her face for a long time after, and Olivia never forgot. Now it's my turn to game the system, Olivia thought with a smirk. Olivia couldn't help but clench her fists reflexively as she remembered how Pamela taunted her in her previous life. She had berated Olivia for paying full price for the same wallet she had been able to score for $2,000 less. Not only that, but she would bring it up for years afterward, before anyone she wanted to make Olivia look small. Pamela was supposed to be one of Olivia's best friends, but that kind of cruel behavior was just one red flag among a giant, ongoing parade on the way to the ultimate betrayal. But now in this life, the wallet would be just one small piece of justice. The shop assistant looked at Olivia, unsure how to answer her suggestion that he use his employee discount. I'll buy it for $10,000 and you can still earn the $2,000 commission, Olivia repeated firmly. Do you want to make this sale right now or not? She raised an eyebrow. This? The shop assistant chuckled in disbelief. I can't possibly. I think you can, but it's your choice. If you want to make a commission on this entire haul today, I think you know what to do. Olivia shrugged. The shop assistant hesitated. All right, let's go, friends, Olivia sighed. The shop assistant quickly made up his mind. Card or card? Olivia handed over her credit card and smiled, satisfied. All right, the shop assistant said. After he applied his discount and ran her card, he smiled at Olivia. I'll get it wrapped up for you. Thank you, Olivia smiled back. The shop assistant nodded and took the wallet around to a back room behind the register. As soon as he was out of sight, his smile disappeared. He glanced back in Olivia's direction disdainfully. Who does she think she is? Talking to me like that while wearing those tacky, cheap sunglasses? You can tell just from one look. They could only cost $100 at most. And they might as well have come from an airport, he thought to himself. Little did the shop assistant know that Olivia, who had been suspicious of him the moment she spotted him, was currently using her powers in order to listen in on all of his thoughts. The shop assistant continued thinking about a new plan as Olivia focused her powers to listen into his mind. I don't know where this girl came from, but what does she know about high-end goods? She must be new money. She won't be able to tell the difference between a fake and the real thing. He swiftly took the wallet and shoved it into a drawer, making sure no one saw, and switched it out with the knockoff version that looked almost identical. The shop assistant wrapped the knockoff up neatly and returned to the counter where Olivia waited. Thank you for waiting, miss, he smiled. Of course, Olivia said as she took the bag. And now I'll teach you a lesson, she thought to herself. Olivia reached into the bag to open it. Olivia, what are you doing? Millie asked. The rich store made her nervous, and she was not sure that this was customary right after the shop assistant wrapped it up. This wallet is worth $12,000. If I don't check it to make sure it's all good, what will I do if there's something wrong with it later? She glanced coldly at the shop assistant. The shop assistant felt a shiver run down his spine. We're an internationally known company, miss. You can rest assured that the quality will uphold our reputation. Oh, I'm not worried about the company, but you are not the company. Olivia pointed out. See, it's you I'm a bit worried about. The smile on the shop assistant's face froze, and he broke out into a cold sweat. He gritted his teeth to keep himself calm. What do these teenage girls with cheap clothes know? I don't need to admit anything to them. I've done this for years. The worst that's gonna happen is she'll apply for a refund in the future. You're right, it's so expensive. It shouldn't be a big deal to check it. Lena chimed in. Exactly. Olivia agreed and opened the wallet in front of the shop assistant. She turned it on its side and then looked right at him. This is counterfeit. What? How? Millie and the others were also stunned. It's fake? The wallet we all just saw looked pretty real to me. Millie was stunned but trusted Olivia's eye. Totally fake. Olivia said, This is not the same wallet as the one I just bought. Olivia pointed to the side of the wallet. There should be a protruding logo of the brand right here. Let me see. Morgana leaned in to look closely at the wallet. No logo on the inside pocket? Fake, she declared and slammed her palm on the counter. Well, it's just that. It's because... The shop assistant stammered. The craftsmanship of each batch of products is slightly different because they're handmade. This logo. Go ahead and look around the store at all the other bags by this designer and it's obvious, Olivia said coldly. They all have the logo on the inside pocket. Morgana rubbed her palms together, eager to give it a try. She grabbed a bag and searched the inside lining. Sure enough, Olivia was right. She glared at the shop assistant. What are the odds that there is only one without a logo, and it's the only one I picked? Olivia noted the shop assistant's face had gone white with nervousness. And I could have sworn it did have one when I brought it to the counter. It might be a mistake by the craftsman. Sometimes things go wrong in the manufacturing process. The shop assistant gulped. If you are not satisfied with this product, I am happy to switch it out for another one that is to your satisfaction or refund it. We can work something out. Switch it out for another one? Olivia laughed. A mistake? How could your world-famous high-end company make a mistake like that? Forgetting their own logo? What kind of brand does that? It happens sometimes. The shop assistant stuttered. I'm really sorry about this, but there are no buts. Olivia interrupted coldly. Something is not right here, and it's not the manufacturer nor the person who hand-stitched the wallet. I think you tried to trick me. She turned to Millie. What is the number of consumer complaints? I have it right here. Do you want me to call them now? Millie asked. No, the shop assistant blurted. Please don't call them. Put the phone down. Let's just talk this through. This is a misunderstanding, really just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Olivia raised her eyebrows skeptically. Morgana, go outside and raise the alarm that someone is using bootlegged counterfeits to cheat customers. Okay, Morgana said excitedly. I'm great at shouting. Wait a minute, the shop assistant shouted. He gritted his teeth and glared at Olivia. Listen, little girl, you should be careful. You don't want to cross me. I know people in New York City. If you get on my wrong side, you won't be such a happy camper. He threatened. Is that so? Olivia laughed and took the sunglasses off her face. She looked the shop assistant right in the eye, making sure he had a full view of her face. The shop assistant gasped as he instantly recognized her. His legs went weak and he fell to his knees. Olivia Johnson. Oh, wow, looks like you know me from New York City, too. Olivia smiled sarcastically. This guy really picked the wrong customer to mess with today. Olivia thought to herself. I know a few people in New York City as well, as I'm sure you already know. As Olivia basked in the moment of vindication, Morgana rushed to find a store supervisor. The supervisor quickly hurried over to attend to the matter, firing the shop assistant on the spot. I assure you, this employee will never work in any Gimbals ever again, the supervisor promised Olivia. That's good to hear, Olivia said to the supervisor. They all turned around and left the store, Olivia with the real wallet and a smile on her face. In Olivia's previous life, Pamela Cox had laughed at her for 2 whole years, not only for spending $2,000 more than she had on her wallet, but because the wallet Olivia bought had turned out to be fake, just like the one that day. In Olivia's previous life, the shop refused to admit what he had done and even threatened Olivia on top of it. Olivia had been powerless back then, and it still burned her to remember. Thinking of this time, Olivia stopped in her tracks and turned to look at the stunned shop assistant. She smiled and waved at him. "I am not the same Olivia from the past," she thought, as she made her way proudly through the department store. Not far off, a girl tilted her head and looked at Olivia with a pleasantly surprised smile. It was the same girl who had brushed hands with Olivia when they had both reached for the journal at the stationery store. The girl had watched the entire interaction between Olivia and the shop assistant and found herself intrigued by this Olivia Johnson. The girl turned around and hummed a little tune to herself as she walked away. "Ring around the rosy, pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down." Hearing a voice singing a familiar children's song, Olivia felt a strange chill in her heart, as if some kind of very dark energy was nearby. Olivia turned quickly in the direction of the noise, but was surprised to find that there was absolutely no one there. Olivia stood there, staring in the direction of the noise she had just heard but saw nothing. "I could have sworn I heard someone singing just now," Olivia thought to herself. She felt a sense of unease but couldn't exactly place why. "Anywhere else you want to go shopping, or did that drama back there just kill it?" Lena asked Olivia, startling her out of her daze. "Oh, I'm definitely not done," Olivia smiled. "If we let that sales guy ruin our day and cut it off early, then we've let the bad guy win." "Let's keep going then," Millie nodded, pleased with Olivia's sudden upbeat attitude. "Where to next?" "Let's go up to the 10th floor," Olivia said as she looked at the directory map. "They sell watches up there. Let's go take a look." "Wow," Millie said. "I've heard the watches here cost like over 6 figures." "Let's go find out," Olivia smiled. Olivia tried to shake the eerie feeling in her heart as she walked towards the elevator with her friends. "Let's go! Let's go!" Morgana waved them forward. "The sooner we finish with the watches, the sooner we can eat. I'm starving." Okay, Olivia said. "I'll get us all something really good for lunch after." "Those are the magic words." Morgana bounced happily. The group of friends took the elevator up to the 10th floor. As soon as they stepped out, they saw a tall grandfather clock on display in the middle of the department. It was a European antique, probably over 100 years old at least, and the design was simple yet unique. "Whoa." Lena stared in awe at the clock. "This clock is so cool." "It is pretty cool," Olivia agreed, squinting to read the plaque next to the grand clock. "It's the only one of its kind in the world." "What is a thing like that doing here? Aren't they afraid it will get damaged or anything? It should be in a museum," Millie said as she leaned close to peer at the clock's antique hands. "Someone would have to use a chainsaw if they really wanted to break it," Olivia laughed. "Go ahead and look closely. The build and design are top quality, and it was made with exceptional wood with a technique that makes it practically indestructible." "Huh," the girls nodded thoughtfully. Morgana imagined trying to take a chainsaw to it and smiled to herself. "Let's go and look at the watches." Olivia motioned her friends to the counter. The staff greeted them in a warm, gentle way. "I already feel much better here than in the purse department," Lena said softly. Morgana speed-walked through the glass cases, trying to look at the price tags on the watches. They all cost more than 6 figures. Way more than the bags downstairs cost. "Watches are a bigger investment, I guess," Millie nodded thoughtfully. Even though she understood the logic, her eyes widened at the actual prices on the tags. In Olivia's past life, she never would have been able to afford a watch like this at her age. This time around, though, she had quite a bit more money thanks to her much more ambitious approach to life and business. Similar to her plan with the other items she had already purchased that day, she aimed to buy a few pieces that she remembered from her old life had quickly appreciated. Olivia racked her brain, trying to remember which watches specifically had increased in value. She recalled reading a magazine a long time ago that featured a commemorative watch that later sold at an outrageously sky-high price. If she bought it now, it would be around $200,000, well within her acceptable range. But which one was it? She tried to remember. She looked carefully at each watch in the glass case. After a while, her eyes lit up at a familiar-looking one. She pointed and tapped on the glass. "Can I take a look at this watch?" "Could you show me this watch?" another voice said at the exact same time as Olivia. Olivia looked up and was stunned to see the same girl from the stationery store who wanted the journal Olivia had picked out. The girl looked surprised to see Olivia as well. What a coincidence! We're crossing paths again in a totally different store and interested in the very same thing again? She smiled. You have great taste. Oh yes, what a coincidence, Olivia nodded, but she had a vague tingling sensation on the back of her scalp. What a coincidence indeed, Olivia thought. Behind the counter, the saleswoman pulled out the watch and showed it to both of them. It's beautiful. The other girl breathed with admiration, then looked back at Olivia. I mean, what are the odds we would both even be shopping for watches? The girl smiled and laughed. Right, Olivia laughed dryly. She was not sure what to make of the situation. Well, maybe we can match this time, the girl suggested. I'm terribly sorry, the saleswoman apologized. This watch is a limited edition, 100-year anniversary watch. Right now, there is only one of its kind in New York City, so I'm afraid we can't sell it to both of you. The girl smiled. Of course, there's only one of these two, just like the journal. Another weird coincidence. Yeah, pretty weird, Olivia nodded. Since you just graciously let me have the journal, I think you should have this watch. The girl smiled brightly. Thank you, Olivia said. She did not waste any time pulling out her credit card and swiping it. The saleswoman went to work wrapping it up. This must be fate to run into each other like this again. The girl tilted her head thoughtfully. Must be, Olivia said agreeably but without elaborating. She picked up the shopping bag that contained the watch and looked up at the girl. She wore a cute dress and her hair was pulled back from her face with a matching headband. She had lovely, radiant skin and delicate facial features. She had a sweet smile, and her voice was pleasant and friendly. Was it really just a coincidence? Olivia wondered to herself. Then again, after everything Olivia had been through in this life and her last, she felt she no longer believed in coincidences. Well, I hope we run into each other again sometime, the girl waved. Hopefully it won't be when we both want the same exact item again. She laughed. Yeah, hopefully, Olivia nodded. Have a nice day. You too. The girl smiled and walked away. Olivia watched her as she went. Olivia, who is that? Lena asked curiously. I don't know, Olivia said. I met her at the stationery shop earlier. Oh, Millie nodded. It's like you were meant to run into her. Yeah, she said something like that too, Olivia said. She felt that something was slightly off about the whole thing. She seems nice enough, but was it really all just a coincidence? I don't care if it was fate or a total coincidence, or if you guys should get married someday. I just want to eat, Morgana announced. Watch is done. Let's get lunch. Okay, let's go, Olivia laughed. She looked down at all of the shopping bags in her hands and agreed it was time to eat. Olivia led them to a cafe where Violet sometimes bought lunch for work. It was pretty famous in New York City, with people coming from all over the world to try the food. Of course, because of this, the cafe was very crowded. The host recognized Olivia, and after alerting a manager that a local celebrity was there, she quickly rushed over and escorted Olivia and her friends to a table. Olivia never cared too much about receiving special treatment, but she loved being able to treat her friends to the experience. Nice things happening to nice people is the best thing, she thought as she watched Millie and Lena excitedly take a seat at the special table just for them. The manager had brought them to the best table in the house. It looked out at the busy street and had tons of space, even enough space for 2 more guests to sit. "I'm so hungry," Morgana said as she plopped down in a chair. "Olivia, do you remember what Violet got us last time? I've been dreaming about it ever since." "I think I want a shrimp burger," Olivia said, glancing at the menu. "Oh, that sounds good," Millie chirped, scanning the menu hungrily. "Are you sure you want to test your stomach so soon? You just barely recovered from, Lena reminded gently. "I think so," Millie nodded. Her stomach still had not fully recovered from when she was drugged at the Nevin party. It was the sickest she had ever been. But she felt better now and was starving after eating nothing but soup and oatmeal for the last few days. "The salads are really good here. I've had them before," Olivia suggested. "Might be a little easier on your stomach." "I'm getting the pappardelle pasta." Lena pointed to the menu. "I've heard it's so good." The group placed their orders quickly and waited eagerly for their dishes. The food came quickly, and the chef even brought out a complimentary appetizer platter for Olivia and her friends. Once they started to eat, Morgana perked up considerably. "Morgana, can you even taste it when you swallow your food so fast?" Olivia laughed as she watched Morgana ferociously take bite after bite. "What's that? I don't understand you," Morgana said as she ignored Olivia and quickly took another bite. "Let me live. If anything, you should try it my way." "You're right, as long as that's how you like it." Olivia laughed and shrugged. "Wow, this place really is packed," Lena said as she glanced out the window. The line to be seated went all the way down the street. "The wait must be more than 2 hours. I can see why. It's delicious. Very well deserved. I would get in that line again right now if I had to," Morgana said around more bites of food. Millie glanced outside and frowned at the back of the long line. "Olivia, look who is in line." Olivia quickly turned to see who Millie spotted, her smile dropping instantly when she recognized the person at the very back of the line. Olivia tried to gather her thoughts as her mind raced with explanations as to why that person would be here, at the exact same cafe as Olivia and her friends. "Wow, now what are the odds of that?" Lena gasped as she looked at the girl from the stationery store and the watch department of Gimbals waiting in the back of the line. "Why don't we invite her to sit with us so she doesn't have to wait in that epic line outside? We have room at the table and we can pay our good luck forward." Olivia hesitated a moment, but curiosity got the better of her. "Okay," Olivia nodded her head. She liked that her friends were generous people who wanted to share their good fortune with others. And besides, if Olivia was wrong about the girl, and she did just happen to be at the same popular places Olivia and her friends were, then she would be cruel to ignore her. Besides, that girl did just let me get the watch we both wanted, Olivia remembered. "It's the least I can do." "I'll go let her know. Be right back." Lena stood up from the table to head outside. Even though she was very grateful, she already felt a bit guilty that Olivia's notoriety allowed them to cut the line. Sharing and helping someone else benefit would make her feel better. "Try to be a little under the radar. We don't want to make other people waiting in the line mad," Olivia cautioned. "Right, good point," Lena said, giving a thumbs up. The last thing she wanted to do was upset anyone else. That would be the opposite of the good deed they were trying to do. The others watched Lena walk out in the front toward the line. Millie tilted her head suspiciously. "Don't you think it's a little too coincidental that she's here at this restaurant? Running into her again once, sure, okay, and we were technically in the same building for both stores. But then the same restaurant right after?" Olivia swallowed. She had been having a similar gut feeling about the multiple run-ins with this girl. but hearing that Millie also noticed something suspicious made Olivia worry. "It is quite a coincidence," she agreed. It was so coincidental that it almost felt intentional. But how could that be? It felt strange to assume something like that. Just then, Lena walked back in with the girl and led her to their table. No one else in the line seemed to notice. Olivia smiled pleasantly to welcome them. "It's really starting to feel like this was meant to be," the girl exclaimed as she sat down. "Thank you so much for inviting me." "You're welcome." Olivia nodded kindly to the girl. "I would have been waiting out there for hours, and it's so muggy outside." The girl shook her head. "I really appreciate it. It was very kind of you." "It's our pleasure. The menus are on your phone, so go ahead and take a look and order whenever you're ready," Olivia said, pointing to the QR code on the table. "Wow, that's so modern." The girl smiled and scanned the QR code with her phone to get the menu. She flipped through the pages on her phone. Olivia noticed once again that the girl had a slight accent of some kind. She had missed it the very first time they talked, but it was more apparent at the watch shop. "Is this your first time in New York?" Olivia asked. "How did you know?" The girl laughed. "I'm from Europe." "I thought I sensed an English accent in there," Millie said knowingly. "Yes, I'm originally from London," she smiled, "but I didn't live there for very long, and I went to school abroad, so the accent is kind of all over the place." "I see," Olivia nodded. "Are you in New York on vacation?" "I wish. I'm actually here as an exchange student from Europe." She shook her head. "I will be studying at the Marshall School in their summer exchange program, and they're letting me start now since the school year is on a different schedule back home." "Do you know anything about the Marshall School?" "We do, actually," Olivia said. She exchanged a discreet glance with Millie, since they both recognized yet another coincidence. Olivia did not remember there being any kind of foreign exchange student program at the Marshall School in her past life. This is uncharted territory, Olivia thought to herself. She had not confronted very many deviations from the past so far, but the longer she lived out her new life, perhaps more deviations would result from the changes she made with her own actions. "What a coincidence!" Morgana exclaimed through a mouthful of food. "We also go to the Marshall School." "Really?" the girl said with a smile. "The coincidences just keep adding up, don't they?" "They do indeed," Millie said with a hint of skepticism. "Hey, try the French fries, they're amazing," Morgana said excitedly, pushing the plate towards the girl, and completely missing the subtle tone of doubt Millie had just conveyed. "Oh, thank you," the girl replied, putting down her phone and pulling a cross necklace out from inside of the collar of her dress. She held it in her hands and closed her eyes, muttering a prayer to herself. Olivia and Millie exchanged a pointed glance again. The girl finished up her quiet prayer and dropped the cross necklace back under her dress collar, then reached out for a fry. "Are you a nun?" Lena asked sincerely. She had never seen someone be so casually religious with strangers. "No, not a nun," the girl laughed. "I just have always gone to Catholic school, so I'm used to praying at meals. Sorry if that was really strange. I didn't mean to offend anyone." "Of course not. We don't mind," Olivia assured her. "I'm glad," the girl smiled. "Before coming to the United States, I was a little worried that there might be some big cultural differences." "You don't have to worry about that one, at least. New York is really diverse, so there's all different kinds of religious affiliations." Lena smiled at the girl. "It's normal to worry about moving to a new place, though." "Yes," the girl nodded, then her eyes widened. "I'm sorry, I haven't even asked for any of your names yet, or even introduced myself." "My name is Morgana," Morgana said with her mouth still full. "I'm Lena," Lena added warmly. "Millie," Millie nodded. She was slightly more guarded, but it was not noticeable to a stranger. "And I'm Olivia," Olivia said. "What's your name?" "Sayaban," the girl smiled. Her expression was sweet and warm. "Sayaban Harney." "Harney?" Olivia asked Sayaban, and her eyes slightly narrowed. "As in London's Harney family? And as in part of the Phoenix clan?" Olivia recognized that the Harneys were distant cousins to Sven's family, the Jorgensens. "Oh, you know about the Phoenix clan?" Saibon asked, surprised. She immediately looked around and held her finger to her lips to signal secrecy. She continued in a low voice, "I am from the London Harney family, but we are just distant relatives to the Phoenix clan. Like such distant cousins that it barely even counts. We're not really involved with the Phoenix clan." "Why are we whispering?" Morgana asked loudly. "Is the Harney family involved in illegal business or something?" "No, nothing like that," Saibon blushed. "It's just that there's still a bit of a name in the United States. I came to New York City by myself so that I wouldn't be living in the shadow of the family legacy. I'm trying to make it out here on my own without the influence of the family name. I don't want to be treated differently if people found out." "Oh," Lena nodded. "That's understandable. So are you staying here for the whole summer?" "Yes," Saibon answered. "After the exchange program ends, I'll go back to Europe." "What grade are you in?" Millie asked directly. "Back home, I'm in my 3rd year of high school, but they told me I'm the equivalent of being a senior here in the U.S., Saibon explained. "So you'll be in senior classes for the rest of the school year?" Lena and Morgana looked at each other. This really was starting to feel like too much of a coincidence. "Is something wrong?" Saibon asked innocently. "No, it's just that we're in our senior year too. Another coincidence," Millie said with her eyebrows raised. "Wow, that is crazy." Saibon looked surprised. "It would be great if we could be classmates." "Yeah, so great." Olivia smiled hollowly at Saibon. "Where are you staying while you're here in New York?" she asked, more like a detective than a friendly question. "I thought I would stay with my friend, but I'm not sure I'll be able to anymore. In the meantime, I'm staying at the Carlisle." Saibon smiled and shrugged. "Oh, that's a nice spot," Lena said, eyes wide. "It's been lovely so far, yes." Saibon agreed. "It gets a little lonely at times, though." She rested her cheeks in both hands and looked wistful. Right at that moment, Olivia's phone vibrated. She quickly picked it up. "What are you up to?" Chris Jones' voice asked on the other end of the line. "I'm having lunch," Olivia answered casually. "What's up?" "Oh, nothing. I just want to see you," Chris said sweetly. Olivia glanced warily at Saibon Harney as she sat at their table and talked with her friends. Olivia suddenly had an idea. "I want to see you too. And you've called at a good time, actually. Why don't you come join me? There's someone here I'd like you to meet." As soon as Olivia hung up her phone, Saibon's devious eyes brightened, like a feline predator eager to play with its prey. "What did you say?" she asked. "You have a friend who is coming?" Olivia nodded. "Yep, they should be here soon. Hopefully you two get along as well." Saibon folded her hands under her chin and crinkled her nose in a cute grin. "That's so good. I love making new friends." Olivia felt there was something strange about the way she said that, but she just nodded and returned Saibon's smile, knowing she needed to seem casual and unsuspecting. She was very torn about whether she thought Saibon's friendliness was genuine or a facade. She did not feel she could trust a Harney, but knew better than most that your family name didn't necessarily mean anything about your character. The waiter brought Saibon her order, and she looked purposefully up at him. "Thank you so much. Your sideburns are very cute, by the way." "Huh?" The waiter was stunned for a moment and put a hand up to one of his sideburns and looked away, self-conscious, breaking into a shy smile. "Thanks, that's sweet of you. You're just a ray of sunshine. Let me know if you all need anything else." "Oh, thank you," Saibon giggled. The waiter hurried away, blushing. Olivia narrowed her eyes as Saibon started to eat. It seemed to Olivia that it was of the utmost importance to Saibon that she charm everyone she interacted with. But then Olivia doubted herself. Was she just being judgy of this nice person? Millie, too, had questions for Saibon. "This is your first time in New York, you said, right? It's so funny that you ended up at this random restaurant. It's not very close to Gimbel's where we ran into you last. Saibon nodded, unflappable. It's a bit far, but I heard so many amazing things about this place, I knew I had to check it out. Saibon checked her phone and typed something before turning it toward everybody. I read through a bunch of the food columns in the New York Times. This place has been here for a while, but seems to have quite the reputation online. Millie nodded, frowning slightly. Yes, it does. She turned back to her food. Yeah, and it's so yummy already. Saibon grinned that crinkle-nose grin again. I'm only going to be here for a bit, but I love to walk and want to see as much as I can. Especially if it's not a touristy spot. I want the good stuff. Lena nodded in agreement, her mouth full. There are so many places that you need to see. New York is like 1,000 cities stuffed into one. You're gonna have so much fun. Oh, thank you, Saibon trilled. I was worried before that I wouldn't meet people who are nice and easy to get along with. You know, the whole New York attitude stereotype. And just being in a new place, but if the rest of the students at Marshall School are as friendly as you guys, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, Morgana chimed in. Everyone's pretty nice. Nobody's that evil anyway. Good. Saibon beamed as she ate the salad she ordered. This is so tasty. I've never eaten a salad this good before. It's really... She pursed her lips and waved her hand, searching for words. Then she just grinned at them. I don't know. It's indefinably yummy. Morgana nodded, her expression serious. Yes, mine too. It's indefinably yummy. I think everything they do here is super delicious. Olivia laughed. I mean, you're completely right about this place. The chef really knows what they're doing. But you said the exact same thing about a frozen burrito, so I'm not sure I trust your palate. Morgana slapped her hands on the table. Have you guys ever had a microwave burrito? They're a revelation. They might be my favorite food. The other girls laughed. Lena shrugged. I mean, I agree with her. Big time. Morgana shook her head, staring out into the distance. Even just thinking about the taste, they fill me with awe. They're the best thing I've ever tasted. Olivia rubbed her temple. I have been called a world-class chef, and I cook for you all the time. Morgana gave her a nod. And you have honed my palate to the point where I can appreciate the frozen burrito. Would you all like to have them after this? The group laughed again, but Morgana did not understand what was so funny. Saibon's smile lingered as she looked around at the three friends. You guys are so close, it's so sweet. Olivia looked pleased. The comment made her feel warm and fuzzy about her friends, even though it came from such an odd person. That's right, we are. She put a hand on Morgana's shoulder. Maybe we should keep honing that palate. They have an incredible charcuterie board that we could get for the table to share. Saibon held up a hand. Oh, thank you so much, but I don't eat meat. Morgana frowned. Wow, you don't eat meat? I don't know if I've ever met a vegetarian in the flesh. She shook her head. You are really limiting your frozen burrito options, but there are still things to get excited about. Saibon shook her head. It's just a personal preference. I really don't like the smell of meat. Any meat. Chicken, fish, beef, it all makes me want to gag. So I usually only eat vegetables. If it's a soup stock made from animal protein, sometimes it's okay, but I really prefer not to. She giggled. The whole table rattled as Saibon's phone buzzed. Oh, sorry girls, I'll be right back. I have to take a call. No problem, Olivia began to say, assuming Saibon would stand up and take her call somewhere else. But she put the phone to her ear. Hello? She said loudly. Olivia, Lena, and Morgana all quieted, trying to be polite. Got it. Saibon hung up the phone. I am so sorry to be rude, ladies, but I have to run. Don't hate me. Thank you so much for your hospitality and for all being so cute and nice. Everyone nodded and said their goodbyes, assuring Saibon that they enjoyed meeting her as well. They wished her well in New York. Saibon smiled with that eerie glimmer in her eye. Oh, I'm sure I'll have an amazing time. and I have a feeling that we will definitely see each other again soon." Saibon turned to Olivia specifically. "I was really looking forward to meeting that friend of yours who's on their way. It's such a pity I missed them this time, but I hope I do get to meet them." Olivia smiled. "There will be other chances in the future, I'm sure." "Oh, I'm so glad." Saibon stood up and held her hands in a prayer motion in front of her chest. "May the Lord be with you all." After saying that, she turned and left them, practically bouncing away. "Bye-bye," Lena called after her, waving. She turned back to their table. "This Saibon Harney person is quite interesting." "Yeah," Millie agreed, still frowning thoughtfully about everything they just heard and witnessed. "Very interesting. Right, Olivia?" "Yes," Olivia answered, but seemed distracted. She watched Saibon out the window as she disappeared around a corner. Millie lowered her voice and narrowed her eyes at Olivia. "Do you think she has some ulterior motive?" "Possibly," Olivia thought, appreciating that her friend sniffed out something odd about Saibon as well. Millie was always a step ahead of the pack. Let's find out what she really came here for. Was Saibon working for the Harneys or just herself? Morgana and Lena looked at each other, then back to Olivia and Millie, not understanding what was going on. "What are you guys talking about?" Morgana asked. "Ulterior motive, really?" "It's nothing." Olivia gave them a tight smile, hoping to be reassuring, but feeling alarmed inside her head. She bounced her leg and tapped her fingers anxiously on the table. There were so many coincidences running into her that day, and the way Saibon was very practiced in making people like her and have a good impression of her. If it wasn't for her surname, Olivia's guard wouldn't have been up so high. Olivia wished that she could tell her friends that just then, during lunch, she had tried to use her powers in order to eavesdrop on Saibon Harney's thoughts, but in the end, she wasn't able to. Something about Saibon made Olivia's powers ineffective. Olivia was as intrigued as she was nervous. Saibon must have her own powers if she was able to block Olivia from her mind. And if she did have powers, they were at least on par with Olivia's, if not stronger. Chris felt his heart stop as he turned onto the street of the cafe Olivia had told him she was in. Just ahead of him, he saw the absolute last person on Earth he would ever hope to run into. "What are you doing here?" Chris glared coldly as Saibon Harney approached him. She had been hoping it was Chris whom Olivia had invited to join them at the cafe, but she hadn't expected to run into him after leaving unexpectedly. She felt especially lucky today. "Chris, why are you always so mean to me?" She pouted her lips up at Chris as she spoke. "I'm just a new girl in a big city, trying to see everything there is to see. It's not like I'm stalking you or anything." Chris's expression didn't change. His face was stone. "What are you doing here, Saibon?" Saibon held her hands behind her back and shrugged her shoulders innocently. "Nothing at all, Chris. I just came to greet the future wife and matriarch of the Jones family. It is my duty as the next matriarch of the Harney family, after all." Chris narrowed his eyes at Saibon suspiciously. "When in the hell did you become the next matriarch of the Harney family?" Saibon put a hand over her mouth and giggled. "Chris, you are so naughty." Despite her coquettish tone, she walked toward him slowly, deliberately. The image of a leopard stalking its prey flashed through Chris's mind. "Is this the first day Chris Jones has met me?" Saibon had a gentle smile on her face, but her eye shot daggers through his own. "Is there anything in this world I can't take if I want to?" If it were anyone else who said this, Chris would think that person had overestimated themselves. But the person who said it was Saibon Harney. He knew better by now. She sighed lightly and looked at Chris with pity in her eyes. "It's such a shame. There's this man I've been thinking about for so many years. He's filled my thoughts and my heart and used to make me quite happy. But then, when I went abroad to recuperate, he unexpectedly became the fiancé of another woman." She shook her head. Isn't that always the way it goes? Chris ignored her wistful monologue, not buying any of it. Saibon, I'm telling you again, you need to leave New York City immediately. No, honey, that just won't do. She twirled her hips back and forth, causing her skirt to flounce up around her. It was not easy for me to get everything I needed to become an exchange student at Marshall School. How can I leave just like that after all I went through? Chris's heart skipped a beat. He had no idea Saibon was going to Marshall. How dare you? He seethed. This crazy girl really had come for Olivia. Without warning, a cold light flashed, and by the time Chris realized what had happened, the tip of a short knife with a pink handle was already at his throat. Chris Jones, I really don't like your attitude. Saibon's voice was suddenly deeper and all the cutesy inflection was gone, making her sound like an entirely different person. The nearly ever-present smile on her face seemed to have disappeared. Don't make me mad. You know there's a steep price for making me mad. Chris just looked at Saibon, filled with silent rage. His fists clenched by his sides. He knew that her threats were serious. What, do you want to kill me? Saibon giggled as she retracted her knife, her girly demeanor returning. I know you, and I know you won't, Chrissy. She leaned in toward Chris, her lips almost at his ear, and he didn't move a muscle. She whispered, Do you still remember your mother's last words before she died? She looked at his face, scanning for some flinch, some sign of recognition. I know you remember. She reached out a fingertip and traced circles around Chris's heart, her fingernail dragging lightly across his shirt. Chris Jones, you have to remember it for the rest of your life. Those were Auntie Jones' last words, right? Chris swallowed. He maintained his cold stare straight into Saibon's wild eyes. Saibon Harney, if you dare hurt Olivia, I will bury the entire Harney family with you. Is that so? Saibon retracted her finger and laughed softly. Chris, you have to admit that it is a little funny for you to say that. You clearly can't even touch the person who killed your own mother. Chris's composed expression turned ugly as her words hit him. Saibon smiled wide, delighted that she had gotten to him. She could tell that what she had said had hurt him. You haven't even avenged yourself, and you still think you can protect the person you love? What a greedy, greedy boy. Saibon, just tell me, what do you want? Chris asked. She smiled, bouncing on her tiptoes. I told you, Chris, I just wanted to say hello to the future wife who will join the Jones family. You're not that petty, are you? That you won't even say hello to me like an old friend? Chris exhaled, annoyed, but terrified of her. Because that isn't what you actually want here, is it? This isn't your real purpose. The corner of Saibon's mouth raised in a smirk. You're so annoying, so stubborn. Still close to him, she took one last look up and down his face before taking half a step back. Don't worry, Chris. As for what I want, although I am very jealous of you protecting your sweetheart, I will not touch her, she grinned, for the time being. Chris looked at Saibon, trying to determine the credibility of her words, both her promise to leave Olivia alone for now, and the threat to come for her someday. Saibon tilted her head innocently. Why are you looking at me like that, all frowny? Don't you believe what I'm saying? She crossed her arms. Chris Jones, you haven't forgotten the promise you made, have you? She paused, waiting expectantly. Hearing her mention that, Chris clenched his fist so hard that his fingernails dug into his palms. That cold, hard, deadening pain that weighed on him every second of every day would also blaze hot and red whenever he thought about it directly. Saibon beamed at him. As long as I have fun while I'm here, I'll leave her home with you and your precious Olivia in one piece. Eventually. She studied his face and sighed. Don't worry, Olivia's still safe for the time being. Chris stared back at her. Stay away from her, Saibon. Saibon laughed lightly and turned away from him. Oh, say hello to my dear cousin Sven for me. She giggled and hummed a nursery song to herself. She turned away from Chris and then skipped down the street away from him. Chris watched her go as she kept getting farther and farther away. He tried to get a hold of his body, nearly trembling from the adrenaline despite his extensive experience in intense circumstances. Chris took a deep breath and continued on his own way. Olivia brightened at the sight of Chris as he entered the cafe. She waved her hand from their table as she called out to him, "Chris, over here!" "Olivia." Chris's voice was full of relief, but he reminded himself that he had to sound normal. He took the empty seat across from Olivia. Olivia looked into Chris's eyes. With that one look, Olivia knew what had happened. "Have you seen her?" she asked. "Yes." Chris nodded. He knew Olivia was talking about Saibon. "What's her deal?" Olivia asked as Lena and Morgana leaned forward intently. "She's the most dangerous person in the world." As Chris said that, Lena and Morgana each drew back in shock. He continued, "She's a person who should have died 10 years ago." "Oh?" Olivia laughed, making a joke to cope with the gravity of the situation. "Being targeted by a person like that should be considered an honor, right?" Chris snorted in response. "Really, Olivia? Stay away from her. She is a psychopath." Olivia shook her head, recalling the events of the day. "But she came to find me. How can I hide?" Chris didn't respond. It was a good point. "How crazy is she?" Chris took a deep breath and held Olivia's hands with both of his. He was troubled by something in particular. Although everything Saibon had said to him made him very angry, it did not make sense. He had not gotten his revenge yet for his mother, but he still wanted to protect his fiancée first. He was really greedy, he supposed. But so what if he was greedy? He wanted both. He held Olivia's hand tightly and did not want to let go. Olivia looked at Chris's expression and felt like it seemed strange. "Is there something else?" she asked. He looked deeply into her eyes. "Nothing. I just want you to know that I will protect you well. Trust me." Olivia held his warm, rough hands back, squeezing them. "She will not hurt me." Chris stood, reaching out to hug Olivia, and she stood to hug him back. They held each other tightly. Olivia felt the love and desperation in the way he wrapped his arms around her. Chris nodded as his face was buried in her hair. He spoke softly. "You're right. No one can hurt you. I will not allow it." Of course, Chris remembered the promise he had made, the one that Saibon had referenced. He remembered it with painful clarity. The last thing his mother had asked him was the last words she ever spoke. She told him that no matter what, he should not hurt Saibon Harney. Chris tightened his grip on Olivia as he thought about it. He knew deep in his heart that if Saibon made a move on Olivia, he would break that promise.